All right, welcome to the Project Violet podcast, where ambitious professionals come to grow, lead, and thrive in their careers. My name is Daniel Lay.
And I'm Carrie Maselli.
Hey, Carrie, how's the day going today? Happy Monday.
Oh, good. Happy Monday. Can I say that? We just like time stamped it, our day stamped
Yeah.
it.
Happy whatever day it is you're listening to this
Happy whatever day
podcast.
you were listening. That's right.
Every day is
Um,
great.
yeah, my day is good. Thank you. How's yours?
Not too bad. Yeah, we are in the community shifting to project execution this week. So this is where all the
Uh-huh.
magic happens on projects. So I'm pretty
Or as they
excited.
say, the rubber meets the road,
Yeah.
maybe.
Actually, this this week's going to be probably not the most thrilling of topics, but we're going to be talking about budget management.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, stuff that you
Those
got to do.
necessary. Yeah, it is. It's important.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
thought is we're going to start with kind of like internal things. When you're delivering projects, there's a lot of internal stuff that consulting firms do, from budget management to, make sure the quality of deliverables is up to par before we, send them off to clients. And then next week we'll talk about client execution and what we do. We're on client sites and executing on front of the client. But today is more internal, so it's going to be all the fun stuff that we do behind the scenes.
Exciting. That group of people is so lucky to be learning from you.
Well,
Really,
thanks
it's
for saying that.
great.
Yeah.
I know you're changing their life.
Yeah.
I really
Yeah. A
believe
lot of
that. It sounds
a lot.
very massive, but I believe it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's a good team in there. I'm really, I love talking to them. Always look forward to our learning sessions. So I think I learned just as much as hopefully they're learning from me.
I love that. Did you remember to record last week? Remember we were talking about how you were going to
Oh
record?
yeah, we didn't record.
You got to put a post-it on your laptop.
I know. Hit record.
Yeah, I do that when I'm in like, client delivery and I'm doing a series, or something and I'm
Yeah.
hopping in, once a week or something for the client and I'll forget if I don't put it up on like I have a post-it and I'm like, oh,
Yeah, especially when I'm doing YouTube videos and I have my whole camera set up over there. Before my setup, I had to turn on the microphone, and there'd be days it's so infuriating where I forget to turn on the mic. So
yep,
I put up a big sign, make sure the microphone is on, because
yep.
I'll record the whole YouTube video and realize like there's no audio.
It's the worst. It makes you want
That
to cry. You got to
yeah,
do it again.
there were tears.
I'm sure. I understand.
Yeah,
It's the worst. But yeah, those little post-its.
post-it notes,
Listen, I think that's our hot tip today. Like post it on
post-it notes,
your laptop,
hit record,
everybody.
turn on the mic. It's all the little things.
It
Yeah.
is. When I first started out in sales, I would always get this feedback that I talk too fast, which isn't shocking to you, I'm sure. And believe it or not, I used to talk at a faster clip than I do now. And so I would have a post-it on my laptop that said slow
Slow
down.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. I had a friend who one of his opportunities for improvement was he talks a lot, talks too much.
Hmm.
Super smart guy. So I think he just has a ton of thoughts that come through his head and he has to express them. So
Mhm.
he actually has an app on his computer that shows a bar of how much he's been talking versus everybody else on the call, and then it turns red when it gets too far. So he actually has that dial like just on his screen that just shows him, you know, his percentage of talking versus everyone else.
mean, we all need a tool. So, like we can't just like wing it all the time. Like there's something that, if he's
Yeah, it's
self-aware enough
nice.
to know that he's got to, improve it because nobody wants to sit and listen to a monologue. Nobody,
Exactly. It's funny
or
though,
have
because when
someone
I talk
dominate
to him,
the
yeah,
conversation.
yeah.
My husband was just in Milwaukee for work and he worked for Motorola for a really long time
Mm.
back, out of college, like to like the 2010s or whatever. And he has some friends, some colleagues that he used to work with back then, and they live in the Milwaukee area. So he reached out to have some dinner, and I was asking him like that night. I think he got back to the hotel, and I was like, "How was your dinner?" And he's like, "Oh, so and so just dominates the conversation, like just
Mm.
talks so much." And this is like a 50 some year old guy, Daniel. Like who's telling this guy? And I was like, someone owes this guy this feedback. And I'm like, maybe I'm like his wife. And my husband's like, well, he is divorced. And I'm like, maybe she tried and he wouldn't listen.
Yeah, that could be part of it. That's
Oh,
interesting. It's like, do you have AR glasses that have the bar when you're in social settings?
you almost need them, right? Like yeah,
Yeah.
like come on, read the room.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, some people need that kind of. reminder, that physical cue of, you're talking a little too much.
They
I
do,
thought it
and
was
that's okay.
hilarious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay.
It's funny
Gosh,
because when I talk to him, I could tell he'll stop me and be like, okay, I'm talking too much. You go. And it's
I think
probably
good
because
for
his
him.
bar is like red.
It's like screaming at him and blinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, you need to shut up.
Stop talking.
Yeah. Well, anyway. So today we're going to be pulling another question from the advisor space in our community, and it's
Cool.
about leading without authority. So I'll read the
Mm,
question. How can people lead effectively during project execution when they don't have formal authority? So they're either individual contributor or they have to motivate teams that don't report into them. And that's definitely something that as a consultant, we find ourselves in all the time. We have to come in, we have to lead a project, we have to run things, drive work forward, and no one reports to us. So we have to use
mhm,
influence to get things
mhm.
moving.
That's
So,
right.
Carrie, when you heard this question, and we haven't shared notes, what were your
Mhm.
thoughts?
Well, first and foremost, and I know you agree with this, I want people to know and understand that you don't need formal authority to lead
Mm,
effectively, right? Like that you can be a leader existing in any role. You can behave in the ways that emulate, what a great leader is and does. I broke it down into, I think you're influencing me in a way. Speaking of influencing without authority, um, I broke it down into three things that I think are critical. That when you are in a position where you have to get people moving in the same direction without the title. So the first one is clarity.
mm,
So in this, we talk about the same things, I feel like, at least from my mouth all the time, like, because I think it does boil down to just a
yeah.
few things, that we have to do consistently. And I think making sure and that everyone understands the shared goal. We talked about this last week, what success looks like when people are aligned on that why. Again, we could just like pull in some of our conversation from last week. You don't really need the momentum or you don't need the authority to create that momentum,
Mm,
because people are like, oh, this is crystal clear to me. I know what I have to do. I can do that. And I know this person's doing that and I can rely on them for this, right? It just like removes the noise, or so, I
mm.
don't know. And just people are more willing, I think, in my experience, to do what they need.
And it's something
The
so
second thing,
simple.
oh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I was going to say it's so
I'm sorry.
simple,
Do you
but
want to react after each one? That's a good
yeah.
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. So yeah, the only thing that popped into my head was, yeah, clarity is such a simple thing to do, but at the same time, it's so hard to do. And
Mhm.
so many companies struggle with, like, if you
Yes.
just walk around their teams and people doing the work and just ask them, like, do you know why you're doing what you're doing? And do you know the
Gosh.
teams around you and how they impact what work you're doing, how you impact their work?
Yeah.
A lot of times the answer is like, I have no idea.
No. And I think people want to overcomplicate it. And they think the answer is more complicated to my like,
Oh yeah.
it's
Hmm.
like when we do, in my work for years, I've done like, employee engagement type programming, like employee development type programming. And it's, the conversation's always like, what do your employees want to learn about? What do they need? And people are like, what? And it's like, well, how about you ask them? Right? Like, let's start there, shall we?
It's always an
uh,
easy way to do it, an easy answer, and people
yeah,
just choose not to go that route.
that's right.
Anyway, I interrupted you.
No, you
What's
didn't
your
interrupt. I like that
Mhm.
you wanted to react to that first one.
Yeah.
So then the second one, I think, is credibility. And that's the consistency in our behavior, right? Continue to show up consistently, continue to follow through, do what you say you're going to do. I know that again is like a simplification of this, but it's the truth. And I think when you share information openly with the people you're working with, right? That transparency, when, lean on a leader, to let you know and guide you in terms of what can be shared. However, when you openly share information, when you do what you say you're going to do, when you show up and behave in a way that doesn't keep the whole team on eggshells because they don't know what version of you they're going to get, or if you're going to keep that one-on-one or that team meeting or whatever, people are, I think, so much more likely to follow someone they respect and also can rely on,
Hmm.
right?
I like that. What's number?
Um, Number three
Yeah, number three.
is
Yeah.
connection. So you knew I was going to bring it back to the relationships and the people.
Yeah.
Um, Leadership without authority undeniably requires or relies on relationships. So
Mm,
you need to listen to people, be curious of them and their situation, ask them for feedback and input on what everybody's doing or what they're doing specifically. There's nobody better than who's close to that
Hmm.
piece of the project, right? To ask for their feedback and input and give them a voice. Like when people feel, again, it all goes together, right? They have clarity in terms of what they're trying to achieve in that end goal. But if they along the way can learn that they're adding value or maybe came up with an idea that saved, time, money, talking about budget, right? Any of it,
Hmm.
like what a cool way for someone to feel as part of the project. And it's like it puts a little skip in their step, right? To like keep
Yeah,
going and keep doing a really good job. And I think when people feel heard, again, they lean in, they're like here for it. Um,
absolutely.
so I think that's it. I think it's clarity, credibility, and connection.
There you go. The
You
three
can be in any
C's.
seat at the table and people are going to want to hear what you have to say.
I like it. Clarity, credibility, and connection. The
Huh?
three C's of leading without
The
authority.
three C's. I didn't even
There
think
you
about
go.
that.
Oh, I thought that was like part of your thing to help
No,
remember.
it actually, you are literally just pointing that out to me. I
It's like
did not
great branding.
think about that at all, but we like some alliteration. Carries three C's.
Carries three C's.
I
I love
mean,
it.
yeah. All right. So
Well,
what's your answer?
it's gonna reinforce everything that you just talked about, but I'm bringing a slide to the table, so maybe
Of course you
and
are.
honestly, like it's gonna be a recap of what you just talked about, and it's kind of good we're aligned on it. So let me
Well, not
figure out
only is it
sharing
good
on this.
we're aligned, but also I hope it helps people listening understand that it's not like, again, some massive, like it really is just focusing on a few things. It's not
Really
some big
simple.
like
The
climbing Mount
three C's.
Everest,
Yeah,
right?
don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my stuff is exactly like yours. I approached it a little differently or structured it a little differently. And this is a slide that I pulled from the consulting boot camp inside the
Nice.
community. So something that anyone can take. It's kind of a structured course, but this one it was pulled from the module for project delivery leadership. And it's all about how do you motivate teams. And this is kind of looking at you're a consultant and how do you motivate kind of on the client side, the teams that are doing the work that you need to, help get deliverables done or move milestones forward. And I broke it into kind of two sections. So people that are listening and aren't on, YouTube or watching this, there's internal motivators and external motivators. And it's kind of a carrot and stick kind of concept. But just like you're talking about before, on the internal motivator side, there's focus on purpose, giving
Mm-hmm.
them uh, that clarity on what they're doing and why. I think a lot of people on different teams, especially, sometimes on the client side, maybe their managers or their leaders aren't communicating well on why they're doing what they're doing and why this
Mm-hmm.
project exists and how it connects to
Yeah.
strategy.
What
So if
the
that's
heck
something
are we
that you
doing?
can bring to
Yeah.
the table,
Yep.
it's huge. It just gives them an extra, purpose on their day-to-day jobs. Um, Below that, I have foster relationships. So that's your whole like connection point, right? You want to build relationships. You want to spend the time getting to know people. Um, give them credit and praise publicly too. I think that's part of, building those relationships. A lot of the times, maybe their managers or leaders don't value them as much as you value them as a consultant. And, they will do stuff for you and they'll move mountains for you if they think that you're behind their back and you're going to help progress their career as well.
That's right. Yeah.
So, yeah. And when you have those relationships, when you need something from them, you can frame the request as a favor and people always, I think, love to help. I think
Sure.
it's innate inside of us. So when you come in and say, hey, I really need, this would help me out so much if you can, get this done so our project can move forward. And this is a huge favor. Like, I'll owe you one. And I think when people hear that, they just feel important. They feel valued. That's one way to kind of internally motivate them to um, get work done. And this might sound a little manipulative, but I think it's like you really want to build genuine relationships with people, and
Yes.
because
Yeah.
those relationships will carry the project forward. So
Oh
if
gosh,
you
yes.
frame it in that and have that mindset, I think it'll be good.
Well, can I react
Jump in,
before we
yeah,
move
go
on to
for
the
it.
external?
Yeah.
I would say, and I have a question for you because I
Hmm.
agree with all of this. I, though, have learned someone works on my team now who hates to be publicly recognized, hates it. And she told me that, after we started to work together, and I think I probably
Hmm.
publicly recognized her for something. And she was like, hey, by the way, like, I don't want it. Like, I love when you tell me good job. I love when you give me a spot bonus, but like, can you not? Right. So I think it's important as like a caveat here. Like some people may not be into it. And so it doesn't hurt, going way back to that. I think the first conversation we had on this podcast about getting to know your team and like asking questions of them and like how they like
Sure.
to work. And that's maybe, I think, something to ask. hey, when I think you do a good job, or I see, this incredible work that you're doing, I'd like to recognize you publicly if you're okay with that. And
Yeah.
publicly means in front of the team or on the weekly, uh,
Hmm.
project status or, something. I don't know. Have you ever had
Yeah.
experience with that?
No, but it's actually a good question. Like I know some people, and myself included, when you kind of praise them on front of everyone, they get a little uncomfortable, but
Yeah.
not to the point where they're like, don't ever do that.
Yeah.
But it's a good question to ask. Like everyone's different, and
Yes.
no one's exactly, everyone has their, things that make them uncomfortable. So it's a good question to ask. But I still think even if they're uncomfortable with it, it makes sense to praise them maybe in private and let them know, hey,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So not like do away with it, but do it in private. And I would even say like let them know. I would love to tell your manager how great of a job you're doing.
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
okay? And maybe get permission for that. In the past, I guess I've just done it. But it makes sense to ask for permission in case they don't want to. But
Well, I'll tell
yeah.
you, I think that's the difference, right? It's like if you're sending an email to the manager,
Mhm.
that's not public necessarily, right? Like, I
No.
don't know if you need to ask permission because I think anyone would want their manager to know they're doing a good job,
Yeah. Hmm.
right? I think it's that you're on a team call with all the project team or something, and you're like, hey,
Yeah.
I don't know. And maybe in all the years that I've led teams, I've not encountered very many people who don't like it, right? Or hate it, really. So
Yeah.
it's
That's
not
far and few between.
necessarily this thing. I don't know.
Mhm.
I just think we should be mindful of it.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a good question to ask. I mean,
yeah.
maybe you can start if you want to do it, just give it general praise to the team and then look at people's reactions. But I think it makes sense. Just like, hey, I would
Yeah.
love to call you out on this
Yeah.
huge call and say thank you for the work that
Yes.
you've done. Is that
Are you good with
okay?
that? Yeah.
And I think more often than not, people will say, you don't have to, but feel free.
Thank you. That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
thank you.
Like you better. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
tell everybody what a good job I'm
Yeah.
doing.
And then follow through on it if you're gonna, make that
Right.
promise.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I'm not saying don't praise at all.
No, it's good. I think it's always good to be reminded that people are different and it's good
Mhm.
to ask permission, even in something that you think everyone would want. Maybe they don't. So it's a
Remember
good
my
thing.
book club story?
Oh yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's just an
Hey,
extension of that, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
a nice callback. I think that was episode
Right.
2. All right. So moving to the next one, external motivators. That's on the other side of the slide. So we just talked about internal motivators, external motivators. So this one is maybe a little controversial, but the first one is getting the ball rolling. And it's not necessarily motivating people, but when I was a senior consultant, a lot of the times that I found that work wasn't progressing, I would take the initiative and start the work on behalf of, a team or sometimes a person. And I caveat this because you have to be careful. You don't want people to perceive that you're trying to take over their job or you're stepping on their
Mhm.
toes. You definitely want to communicate how you're going about it to whoever team is actually responsible for the work. And you don't want to do all their work for them either. This is just how do you do some work so that it's an easier on-ramp for them to get the work going. So
Mhm.
sometimes you can say, hey, let's have a meeting. Let's talk about the work that you need to do. And then ask permission at the end to say, like, hey, can I structure this, what we just talked about, in a template to get you started?
Hmm.
And this is just to, make sure that all our work is kind of in the same structure and the same template. So it's easier for people to
Sure.
understand
That
and to move
consistency.
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. To have that consistency. So it's a tool that in your toolkit that you might want to pull out once in a while. I wouldn't say it's something that you should do every time, but it is a way that I've found if you can just get like 5% of the work done for someone, they'll all of a sudden feel the need to like, oh, okay, let me grab this and run with it. And sometimes, they're just really busy, or sometimes they just need that extra direction or guidance to get
Yes.
the ball
Yeah.
rolling. So that's a tool in the toolkit to kind of externally motivate someone to just actually start their work and then and of
Hmm.
course communicate that and caveat it as it's a draft and that you keep your manager informed of the work that you're doing too. So a lot of caveats around that, but it is something that might help someone move along. Um,
I think there's so many things that we talk about that have some that it's like a whole nother episode of a caveat.
yeah, because
Like the,
you have
the
to
nuance of things. Like, yeah, I
exactly.
like that. I wouldn't have thought, honestly, I don't, I'm sitting here thinking like, have I ever done that? I don't think I
It,
have.
yeah, it's a tool in the toolkit, but again, I think it's not something that you want to do every time because you'll A, burn yourself out. You can't do everyone's work, and B, you shouldn't be.
You shouldn't
You
be. That's
yeah,
right.
you should learn how to. get people to do their job without you doing it.
Yes.
Especially if you're thinking of moving into management, that's a skill you need to definitely
Yeah.
start developing. The next one is this is the stick, bringing in the external motivators to get someone working, and
Okay.
it's titled "Leverage Organizational Processes and Structure," which is a fancy consultant way of saying use their managers, use status reports, and call them
Sure.
out of them not getting the work done. So a lot of times, consulting firms and consultants, we use status reports on a weekly basis, not only to let managers and leaders know what we're doing, but it's a tool that we use to let leaders and managers know what other people are doing on the project
Mhm.
that we need, like
That's right.
dependencies. So again, huge caveats around this. You don't want to throw a status out where you're calling someone out without letting them know ahead of time. This is something that needs to be a progression and incremental, communications before you put it on an official status report that say goes to leadership and call someone out in red that they're not doing their work.
Right.
Um, but it is again a tool in the toolbox. So over here we have, document and publish via proper channels. These are the status reports that you should be putting together weekly. Um, that could start as a potential risk or an issue, and that you elevate and it becomes turning the whole status red because, some work isn't getting done on a specific
Yeah,
team or
that's right.
person. Understand their reporting structure. Sometimes it might just be a offhand communication with their managers or leadership and saying like, hey, could you guys help us out here because this team isn't getting the work done. So it
Hmm.
could be more informal before you do formal escalations, or maybe just asking colleagues that are around them to for support and just say like, hey, I know this person's on your team, they haven't been getting the work done. Is there anything that that's going on that we don't know about, or is there anything that you can do to help us out to get them to focus on the work that we need them to get done because things are starting to slip on our side. So external motivators. And that's it.
I'm sorry, were you done with
Go.
that one?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that. So before putting it in a formal status, right, that goes to everybody, I'm really glad that you mentioned that there's a series of conversations that need to happen before you do that, right? Like
Hmm.
the first conversation is like, hey, you're not contributing or this thing is late and this is the impact, right, that it's having on the team. And so by next week at this time, when I'm going to send the status, I need you to do these things,
Yep.
right? And if you don't do them, I think this is the key too, and a lot of people miss in a conversation like this where we need behavior to shift. The expectation is like you're going to do this, and if you don't, I need you to understand that I'm going to have to put it into the formal status
Yep.
report that all of leadership sees, and that you will be the one who's read, right,
Hmm.
and at risk, the whole project, falling behind. I think when people understand that, it's
Yep.
like, oh shoot, okay. Like some people really do need to be able, they have to hedge a consequence for it to feel like urgent enough for them to do it, especially in these situations where we're leading without the authority, like we're talking about.
Yep.
Someone could be like, well, who are you? I don't need to listen to you. And it's like, well, do you want to be in the status report as read?
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly. Yeah, and it works
yeah,
both ways. Like in the status report too, you can use that as a tool to give, like we said before, the praise and the credit for teams that are getting the work done and doing it
that's right.
well. You can call it out in the status. So it's kind of a tool you can use as a carrot and a stick in a way
Yeah, you
to
can.
get the work going. Yeah.
That's right.
Hmm.
Yeah. They can do it though. People can do it, right? Like,
There
I
you
don't
go.
know.
All right. Well, I like that. So we got the three C's from
Uh-huh.
Carrie. Can you call them out again? It was clarity, credibility, and
Credibility,
connection. Ha!
connection.
I
That's
got
right. I was giving,
it.
did you see I paused? Because I wanted you to get them.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
passed the quiz.
you did.
Um,
Good job. You
and
were
then
listening.
I was listening and I can apply it. And there's a lot of connections to mine, which was internal motivators and external motivators.
Hmm. I
Any
really
final
like that you thought
thoughts?
about it that way
Hmm.
because some people are just inherently intrinsically motivated and others
Hmm.
really need that external push.
Yep.
Hmm.
My wife and I are very different. I think she's externally motivated. I'm internally motivated,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to food. If it's there, she'll reach for it. I'll reach for it if I'm hungry.
You're just thinking about it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
What am I going to eat next?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I love it.
Yep. I think I
All
might
right.
grab something to eat right after this.
That sounds good. I feel like you're always going to grab a cookie or something after we talk.
Yeah. This takes a lot out of me.
I love a cookie.
I need a
I love
cookie, a nice
cookies
little
are one of my
reward.
favorite treats. I
Yeah.
say treat like a dog, but I love a cookie.
I might be externally motivated. I get a cookie for each podcast.
Good boy, Daniel.
Well done. Here's a cookie.
Here's a cookie. I
All
love
right.
it.
Well, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.